Hello all, my name is Yossi, and today I would like to clarify a major misunderstanding that I believe that most people on earth have about God. This lesson is dedicated to the memories of my parents, my father and teacher, Avraham Shmuel ben Simcha Bunim, and my mother and teacher, Chana bat Shimon. The other day I was having a conversation with a Christian gentleman who contacted me as a response to one of my YouTube videos. He said that the mitzvot, the commandments of the Torah, could not possibly be kept, and that God knew that they couldn't be kept. This, he said, was all part of God's divine plan, that only through Jesus could we be spared the suffering decreed upon us all because of our disobeyment of God's commandments. I made the claim that God is not a monster, and that God would never give commandments to his people, knowing that they could not be kept, and then punish them for not keeping those very same commandments. I stated that only a monster would do such a thing. The Christian gentleman did not hesitate, and he proceeded to explain to me why I was wrong. He gave me the example that God knew that Adam would sin, and therefore Adam was sentenced to death, and the earth was cursed for only one broken commandment. Well, there are actually two fundamental problems with this understanding. The first problem is that it ignores the very basic idea that man has free will. And the second, in my humble opinion, the more serious problem with this concept is that it miniaturizes and compartmentalizes God. You see, man is constrained by time and space, and therefore cannot comprehend God, who created time and space, the time and space that we humans, as we know them. He's not confined by time and space. And this is why we find God seeing in the Bible, even though God doesn't see as we humans do. And this personification of God and other personifications are meant to help us understand what's going on, because due to our limitations, we can't understand possibly what God seeing actually means. So this is getting a little complex. Let's get back to my Christian friend's statement that God knew that Adam would sin. On the surface, this appears to be true, but it's not. It's only partially true, and something that's not entirely true is, by definition, false. See, God's knowledge, like God's sight or God's arm, is unlike our knowledge, and therefore it's not constrained. You see, God knew that Adam would sin, but he also knew that Adam would not sin, and that's the whole point. You see, God is infinite. He knows all of the possible results of all the possible decisions that we make from the moment we enter this world to the moment we leave it. And you might ask, doesn't this contradict free will? No. See, the idea that God, knowing that Adam would sin, and only that Adam would sin, definitely contradicts free will. But since God knew that Adam would sin, and God knew that Adam would not sin, leaves the choice up to Adam. For nearly as long as man has walked the earth, he has been trying to explain the world around him. He sends rockets to the moon and dives to the depths of the ocean to learn how things work. See, man is no different in his delving and probing to try and understand God. But since God can't be understood, most of mankind accepts a humanized version of God, a God who sees like we see and speaks like we speak, and a God who knows like we know. But this is the fundamental basis of idolatry. Reduce God to a size and shape that we can understand. Now, if you were to ask an ancient idol worshiper about his gods, he would probably give you a simple and straightforward explanation, unlike that given by my Christian friend. The reason that this happens is that man has a need to miniaturize and compartmentalize God in order to understand him. It's because God is omniscient, omnipotent, and eternal. Now, this makes man very uncomfortable. So instead of coming to accept the idea that God cannot be explained, man creates God in his own image. Thank you, Kol Tuv, and God bless.